Hi, thank you for being here. My name is Carrie Larkin, and I'm a Senior Education Advisor at Lexia Learning. For more than 10 years, I led Washington, D.C. public schools special education work, and during that time, our students with IEPs made double-digit gains on the NAEP assessment. Lexia was a meaningful part of that progress, and I'm here today to show you how you too can have that level of progress in your district or state. We have not had a lot of reason to be happy and excited in the last 2 years of school, but our outcomes in Lexia are reason to be excited and reason to be hopeful about what students and teachers can accomplish together. Let me show you some of what our students in Core 5 were able to accomplish during the 21-22 school year. When you look at the data on this slide, I want to draw your attention to two things. One is that this is from the 21-22 school year alone. This is not cumulative progress. This is progress made during one of our most challenging years. And I want to draw your attention to where students began and where students ended the year. Core 5 is for students in grades K to 5. And this data is going to show you that 35% of students began the year on grade level. By the end of that school year, 77% went on to reach or exceed their benchmark expectations. We're really excited about this progress, and this progress is not limited to elementary school. I'm going to show you more data from Power Up, Lexia's program for students in grades 6 to 8. Those of you who work with secondary students know they are sometimes our most vibrant and most challenging students, and they're the ones who have suffered the longest if they have not mastered all of the skills they need to master to read, write, and speak with confidence. Students during the 21-22 school year had really great success in Power Up, and I'm going to draw your attention to some of this data. This data is telling us that 11% of students who began the year working on 6th to 8th grade level increased from 11% to 69%. We never see that level of growth. That many students increase their ability to engage in grade level text over the course of one school year. What's less evident in this bar chart is how many students began the year working on foundational skills, K to 2 level skills, despite being in middle school. There are fewer than 5% of those students still working on those foundational skills by the end of the school year. That is the power of Lexia's Power Up. And I want to tell you a little bit about how we are able to achieve these tremendous outcomes for students and teachers and families. There are a lot of great reasons that Lexia is able to achieve this kind of success. I'm going to highlight 3 of those reasons for you today. One is adaptive blended learning. One is proprietary technology called assessment without testing. And one is our alignment to the science of reading. Let's talk a little bit about adaptive blended learning. Over the last 2 years, adaptive may be the word we've used more than any other word when we're trying to talk about school and this environment. At Lexia, when we think about our technology, adaptive blended learning means that the instructional technology is instructing and adapting to a child's need. When many of us went through teacher preparation, we learned a direct instruction model. I, the teacher, teach. We, the teacher, and the students do it together. Now you, the student, go master independence, and that's how we knew students had mastered what they needed. We flip that model when we talk about adaptive blended instructional technology. The instruction begins independently with the student, and that student is working on technology that will place students into areas where they will accelerate the skills they have and remediate the skills that they need. Every click of the keyboard is generating data for the teacher who is progress monitoring. That teacher makes all of the instructional decisions rooted in that data. So often our teachers are drowning in data. This is relevant, actionable data that ties the need to instruction. And then the teacher engages with the student. It could be a small group. It could be an individual child. It could be putting groups of children together who need the same thing from one another. I want to draw your attention to the center of this graphic. The center of this graphic is the teacher, who is the most important person in that room. Instructional technology never supplants the teacher. Instructional technology supports the teacher in reaching each and every student so that student can reach their full potential. Now, part of this technology is also informed by something that we call assessment without testing. Assessment without testing is proprietary technology where every click of the keyboard is generating meaningful data for the teacher. This is a paradigm shift for a lot of teachers and leaders because we think about our gains and how we measure progress as beginning, middle, and end of year assessments. And we know that those assessments detract from instructional time and create even more stress for teachers and students. With assessment without testing, we are decreasing the stress that students experience when they take a high-stakes assessment. We are decreasing the time that teachers take away from instruction to administer that test. Assessment without testing is ensuring every click of the keyboard is generating meaningful, actionable data for teachers and tying that data to instruction. It is how we can accelerate achievement while addressing gaps. It's how we ensure that we narrowly target those gaps, that we deeply understand what that gap means to a child's overall literacy achievement, and then remediate that gap with instruction. At Lexia, this data is compiled on the Lexia Dashboard. That dashboard is available to teachers, administrators, and the central office leaders who are responsible to communicate outcomes to the community. The Lexia Dashboard is often what teachers are most excited to see when we have a chance to work in school districts like yours. The Lexia platform helps the teacher to communicate where their students begin the year, what kind of progress their class is making, and then looking at each and every child, each and every skill. The Lexia Dashboard connects the need to instructional resources for direct instruction and engagement, and it also allows us to communicate with parents and stakeholders. What are we working on when we say we are addressing the critical literacy needs of students, and what kind of progress are we, the adults, making to ensure that students achieve literacy? Everything we do at Lexia Learning is aligned to the science of reading. I'm sure you've heard this term. The science of reading is the body of evidence across decades and disciplines that tells us how our brain learns to read, why some of us struggle to learn to read, and perhaps most importantly, what instruction will mitigate that struggle. Our brains are not naturally hardwired to learn to read. Only instruction creates the neuronal pathways across these lobes to interconnect all of these skills and achieve reading comprehension. This is what we do at Lexia Learning. Thank you so much for being with us today. We wish you an excellent school year.